Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 110. I'm Evan.
I'm Jim.
And we have quite some interesting topics today. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything. We'll talk about some movies. I got kind of an interesting topic, Jim, I'm going to throw at you.
Okay, sounds good to me.
And then, we get some casting we got to talk about.
Perfect.
How you doing?
Hanging in there. Still alive.
Still alive.
Yeah.
Another day.
Yeah. So each day is a gift at this point.
Chicken soup for the soul.
Right.
So we got a new printer.
Yes, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, we've been for those of you guys who don't know, we've been 3D printing for probably about 5 years now, right? More is just like kind of a thing on the side, more of a hobbyist sort of thing. But, we're getting somewhat competent at it. I don't want to jinx myself and say we're getting good at it, but
it's getting there.
The prints are coming out.
Yeah, they look good.
So we do the helmets on the FDM printers,
right?
And then we do some 1/6 scale statues. I got a spawn on the social media.
Yeah.
We're gonna have that at the WickedCon this weekend.
Yep.
So if you guys are interested,
stop on by.
Yeah, there's not that many out in the wild, so pretty rare. But we got the 16K screen and everything. Don't want to say the brand because I reached out to them. We're going to try to get a sponsor deal going. So, but it's good. So, have you watched anything?
I have not watched much.
Okay,
but I got a couple. So I watched Speak No Evil. Right, the American version.
Okay, because I have only seen the Norwegian one.
So I do want to see that one, but I caught the American one with James McAvoy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not I think that the Norwegian one ends differently, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, let me ask you this: does the American version have a happy ending?
It has a happy ending.
Yeah, the Norwegian one does not.
So it's it's pretty identical, right? But, so the difference is, and tell me if I'm wrong, so the whole premise...
Spoilers, by the way.
Spoilers. It's been out for a while, so hopefully you've seen it.
Just want to warn people if they want to...
So obviously,
skip ahead.
Two families become friends, brings them out to their home, and all of, and
they meet on vacation.
Right, they meet on vacation, go to the home, obviously you start... seeing something's not right? So
because they lie about who they are and what they do and everything.
And they have a son, and the son can't speak. Son has, issue with the tongue missing.
Right, but that's not revealed till later.
Right. But can't speak, and obviously the son, but he's trying to communicate, right, and trying to tell them they're in danger, right. So obviously this is a thing that they do, right. So you come to find out that they lure families to their home. They kill the families and they take the kids.
Right, they're essentially serial killers.
Right.
And then they, once the kids stop being useful.
Right, they move on to another kid.
They kill the other kid and move on to the next one.
Right. So in the Norwegian version, and again, if I'm wrong, that the daughter they take, and that's the new child.
Oh yeah, they win.
Right.
They essentially win in the Norwegian version.
In the American version, they get killed. They lose.
Now, see, that bothers me.
Yeah.
Because I think it's much better as a bleak, sort of hopeless, like these people have done this before, they're going to do it again.
Right.
And what I liked about the Norwegian version, I haven't seen the American, so I can't speak to it, but I left it feeling frustrated.
Sure.
Right? And I imagine you don't.
No. No. I do feel frustrated for the reason that
they went the safe route? Yeah,
that they went the safe route. I don't like that. I don't like that it needed to have that happy ending.
This is studio interference at its finest, because that movie, the Swedish or the Norwegian version of that movie, challenges you as an audience member, right? Because it does frustrate you, and you don't leave feeling good.
Right.
You feel frustrated.
Yeah, because you think that there's going to be a happy ending, and when there isn't one, you're like, oh shit.
Right, and it's the way they and again, there's layers to the Norwegian one. Obviously, there's cultural differences in the way that the Nords act and everything. But basically, the culmination is they almost like just lay over and take it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And as an American, I'm sitting here watching it going, fucking fight back.
Yeah. And that's in the American version, that's all it is the American fight back and rise up. And
right, but I don't that to me ruins the film, because when you change the ending to give it a happy ending, it loses its core identity.
Right. So it just becomes another movie. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day...
Because Speak No Evil, the Norwegian one, and I believe I talked about that on the cast, maybe 2 years ago when I saw it. It's a standout film for me because of how it made me feel.
Right.
But if there's a happy ending, it's just another fucking movie.
Well, that's the thing. It's another one of these movies where,
interesting enough plot.
Yeah. But, again, it's like, they're going to do some bad things to you, but you fought back, you defeated them, and, you're the family that, they've done this 20 times, but
America prevails.
Right, you're the family that finally took them down.
What a fucking bummer that is.
Yeah, it was a real bummer. I was really upset that they changed the ending to that.
Good premise, though, right?
It is a good premise, and I want to watch the Norwegian one just to see the differences, and obviously, the ending, that's the ending I wanted.
Yeah.
And then to see that they changed it to this, I'm like, that just fell short.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I watched one more thing real quick.
Yeah.
This isn't a movie. So Easter is upon us, right? We're about to celebrate Easter.
We are.
I was flipping through, and I came across that on demand they were playing, or they had available, Here Comes Peter Cottontail.
Oh,
have you ever watched this?
Not as an adult.
I have not seen this in like 20-odd years, right?
Not as a full-grown adult,
so,
no.
Right. And so I'm like, I haven't seen this in so long. I want to watch it because, this came out in 1971.
Right.
And, as a child watching this, if you wanted to have a scary character, even in voice acting, you got Vincent Price to play the villain in this. And I'm like, does it hold up? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Does it hold up? I know, and I still watch all the Rankin Bass Christmas specials every year. You know what I mean? So that's commonplace.
Yeah,
this I have not seen in forever.
Like there's also plus there's this, the Christmas stuff. You had the Rankin Bass stuff. Then you have all that stop motion stuff. You know what I mean? Like the stop motion stuff holds up a little better.
Right, and which this is. It held up. I enjoy.
You had fun.
I enjoyed Vincent Price in this as much now. I mean, obviously not as scary, but
is it campier though? Like now, or does it?
It is, but it's that good campy that makes you feel good. Like you can harken back to your childhood and enjoy the whole campiness of
Peter
it.
Cottontail out of left field, dude.
So it was. If anybody has not seen this, make it a point to search it out.
It's just one of those weird, early 70s slice of Americana, type of
very innocent,
made for TV. It was like a special too. Like they'd be like, fucking The Incredible Hulk isn't airing tonight because you're gonna watch Here Comes Peter Cottontail.
Right, exactly. And you know and Peter Cottontail's voiced by Casey Kasem. You know what I mean?
Shaggy.
So Shaggy, if anybody doesn't know. So it was it just definitely was. I'm so glad. Yeah, I am so glad I stumbled upon it and we me and my partner watched it the other day, and it was like, this is as good as I can remember it to be. Yeah,
sometimes you need a little nostalgia.
You do
injection.
Absolutely. So what about you? What have you caught?
So I caught two things as well. On Netflix, I watched the Devil May Cry anime.
Okay.
Very good.
Which is the final voice acting of one Kevin Conroy.
Yeah. Very good, though.
Yeah, is it?
Very good. It's got real humor in it.
Does it?
There's some funny moments.
Oh, good.
They poke fun at reality. They poke fun at, pop culture. The action's awesome. The violence is hyper.
Nice.
It just hits on, and the animation is good. The animation's smooth.
Awesome.
So home run with that.
Good.
Home run. I hope we get more of that type of stuff for sure. The music choice is like straight out of early 2000s.
Is it?
They have like Papa Roach and Limp Bizkit. Like, it's just so goofy. It's so over the top.
Excellent.
But like, it's just designed to be that way, right?
Sure.
So it just works on all those levels.
That's excellent. I'm glad it's good.
Yeah, highly recommend that if you have some time just to check that out. The other one I watched was The Monkey.
Yeah. You know what, real quick before you get into it, I wanted to watch this, right? Me and my partner were going to watch it. And I'm like, it's for rent. She's like, okay. And I look at it and I'm like, it was $20.
Well, you got to buy it.
No, to rent it.
That's fucking insane.
It was $20. I'm like,
is it one of those ones that's still in the theaters, so they charge you the premium?
No, but it's not still in the theaters.
Why the fuck is it $20?
I don't know, but I'm like, we're going to pass on that. I'm not going to pay $20 for a rental of a movie. I'm going to
spoil it for you right now. It's good, but it ain't $20.
Right, and that was my, again, not saying, grumbling about money, but I'm just saying, like, for $20, I'm not going to. Right, a rental of a movie that, no one said was must see. So, but anyway,
so I won't spoil it too much. But the premise is basically they find this monkey, this little fucking animatronic monkey, and when you wind the thing in the back, whatever that's called, the little key thing in the back,
right,
he starts doing his little monkey shit, and then somebody dies.
Oh, okay.
Like Final Destination accident style. So these two twin brothers get the monkey. Their father disappears, but the monkey, does this thing with the father. And the brothers kind of hate each other, And so the brother that gets picked on is the first one to kind of crank the thing, right?
Okay.
And he's trying to figure out if I tell the monkey who to kill, will it kill that person? It's not how it works. You just crank it and you're
just random.
It's someone in your life, but it could be random too. The kills are fucking hilarious.
Really?
Oh, it's so funny. And it just goes so off the rails.
Nice.
It's good. It's good. It's very enjoyable. The kills are bloody. I don't even know if I'd call it a horror movie. I mean, it's like horror themed, but it's more funny than it is horror. I'll give you one kill just to. So the first kill, right? The babysitter takes them to the hibachi restaurant, and the guy's doing his fucking knives and shit, and he's like flipping the shrimps and all that, and he goes, "Whoa!" And he cuts the babysitter's head off, right? So the babysitter's dead, and the fucking eulogy that the priest gives is so funny, and then the mother just like leans into the kids, and she's like, we're all gonna die. Like, it's just so good. It's like when it comes out and it's not fucking $20.
Right? Yeah, I'll definitely catch it.
100% worth it.
Oh, good.
Really, really funny.
Excellent.
So that's what I caught.
Nice.
Couple of good ones, which is rare to get two good ones.
Yeah, exactly.
In 2 weeks. So
very tough.
So this is what I want. Let me bring up this topic because this is what I wanted to talk about. So I'm titling this segment When Anti-Woke Goes Too Far.
Okay.
So you and I are pretty vocal about how we feel about gender swapping characters just for the sake of having a female lead, changing stories to, empower women instead of just allowing, the lore to remain. In Disney and in Star Wars, we see a lot of this.
Yep.
The problem I have is when... So a game came out recently.
Okay.
That I was very excited for, called South of Midnight.
Okay.
Now, this is a game that has a black female protagonist. This is an original IP. There's no...
Oh, it is.
They're not stealing, co-opting. This came out of the ether.
Okay.
And it takes place in Louisiana. And basically the premise is your mother gets washed away in a flood, right? And you have to try to go get her back. And as you're going through this world, you're coming across different creatures from Southern folklore.
Okay.
And the style of the game is stop motion. So it's a beautiful looking game. Different art style, different, and it's fun.
Okay.
It's getting blasted online.
Really?
As being woke.
No, so I have not heard of this yet.
Yeah.
But
like, they got Asmongold and those guys shitting on it because it's like, oh, nobody wants to play a female lead. And I'm like, whoa. This is a great game. The art direction is amazing. It was done by a small studio. It's not a long game. It's about 9 hours. It's fun. And it's story rich. It's not co-opting anything that already exists. That's not a woke game.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't Lara Croft tell you that people do want to play females?
But this is my issue with it, is that instead of the reason I have such a problem with the term woke is because it's been co-opted into this negative thing. Right?
Yeah, it is something different now than it originally intended.
It was just like being inclusive and being, we're awake. And it's turned into this sort of, negative term that we kind of plaster over films we don't like because they're being woke to check a box instead of actually being like, would I call this game woke? For sure, it's a black female protagonist, right? I mean, that's woke in its truest definition, but not in a bad way.
Well, what is the issue that people are having with it? Just the fact that
protagonist.
But
nobody wants to play a female, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but she's not like usurping a guy that used to be in the role or girl bossing someone.
But I take it even a step further, okay? Because I played the game, I beat it.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. At no point in the entire story was there any commentary like, I'm better than a man, this is all the men's fault. There was none of that.
Okay.
It was none of that. She was on a mission to go get her mom. There were fantastical creatures. There were bad guys. They had like sort of a... wasn't really Papa Legba, but he was like kind of a voodoo priest sort of character, which is, again, Southern folklore, right? So, but there was never at any point did I, and look, were there cheesy parts? There were a couple of, couple of parts that were a little cringe, a little cheesy, but it was never pushing any type of message of women are better or, men were doing this before.
Yeah, she wasn't taking down the patriarchy.
No, she was on a mission to get her mom back. And again, it could have been her father. I don't think it would have made much of a difference.
Right.
But I'm cool with the mom. Like, no problem there.
Yeah, there's no issue there.
No issue at all. And there wasn't really... So there was almost like... an interesting undercurrent of racism in it, where the grandmother of her father was white.
Okay.
So the grandmother's like old Southern, lives in a plantation, like white, and
sure.
She hates them, right? So like there's that kind of thing.
All right.
But it's never really addressed.
Yeah.
Right? There's almost a subtext to it.
Okay.
So like how it would be, how the racism would come through in reality.
Sure.
Right? So, but there was never like, oh, you just hate me because of the color of my skin. Look, there was never any shit like that. It was just, you got the vibe, but it was never spoken.
Okay.
Which I think is the way to do it if you're going to do it.
Sure. And
I can't believe, and again, it's not in the toilet on the reviews, but like the reviewers set it at an 85, the critics. I think it's probably around there, 85, 88, something like that is what I would give it. But the fucking player base, it's at like a 70. And all of the people are giving it zeros and ones.
But not for the game playability?
No. It's just the same fucking argument that we always hear, and sometimes it's valid, and I think the reason I wanted to bring this segment up is because sometimes it's not.
Right.
Like you can't. There's a difference between saying I don't want to play, I don't want to play a game where I was an established male character and you killed him off or whatever, and now I have to be a female. Now again, with The Witcher 4, we have Ciri being the main character, but that's earned.
Sure.
Right? I mean, that's you had a full Witcher 3 game to earn that, and she did.
Right.
So no issue there.
Right.
Where I take issue is when a game comes out that's totally original, doesn't have any messaging behind it, and still gets review bombed and claimed that it's woke in the negative way that woke is used. It's just like there's a difference between hating something because it bastardizes lore, or
or you're telling our hero that, oh no, I'm better than you from day one, and you're really not a hero, and I can do anything the second I step foot into this world.
Right.
Those type of things are deservedly so. They should get criticized for what they are.
Totally agree. But when you start doing it to games like this, you're being misogynistic, you're being racist, and I think that needs to be called out, because there's a difference between loving a story that has pre-established lore and just not wanting to play as a female or a black protagonist.
But what's funny is isn't the argument always create your own thing, stop taking and bastardizing what is there, right? Isn't that the argument? Like, if you want a black female protagonist, go make your own. Don't take The Witcher and make it a black female Witcher as opposed to Geralt, right? That's what everybody complains about. Go make your own Witcher, right?
Well,
and now you've done this.
But that was
not Witcher, but you know what I'm saying.
That was my assumption. That was always the argument that we were making. Was just like, look, we're okay with having female protagonists, minority protagonists, whatever, but just stop co-opting other properties,
right,
and trying to use the strength of that property to sell your shitty game.
Yeah, and tell us that the man is bad and not as good as this female is. Right. Like, those are the things that everybody rebelled against,
right,
and so put you in the position you're in. But
now we have a game that's totally original, which
we said go make your own thing,
right?
Which this is,
and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right?
Right.
Like that Dustborn game came out, and that fucking tanked.
Yeah,
but it tanked because it was literally about, like, there was a power in that game to trigger people.
Right.
It was just about fucking with people.
Right. Yeah, that game was made to...
This is just you have a female protagonist. She has her mission. She has fantastical circumstances. She's not better or worse than a man. There's no gender hierarchy. No one's playing that type of game. Bad things happen to the characters, but it's not because of anything. It's just... And I'm sitting here going, this game is fucking great. This game should be getting awards. Like, what's going on here that we're fucking saying this is another woke?
Yeah, see, now, right. And so I agree with the premise of your original statement of the segment. That's going too far. Right. That's going over the line now.
And I think we need to be... I think we have to, and again... You and I are both white guys, so what does my fucking opinion really matter?
Sure.
But I think there's also a responsibility, especially if you're going to be critical of anything, right? You have to be able to call out the hypocrisy when it happens. And so, look, if you don't like Star Wars Outlaws because it's a shitty game, no problem. But if you don't like Star Wars Outlaws because it's a chick, that's a problem.
Yeah, for the most part, I believe that the gameplay was the reason why that one failed like it did.
But here's my thesis on all this, right? I hope it doesn't turn into... I hope this whole woke, go broke movement doesn't doesn't turn into like a Me Too situation where bad actors co-opt it to kind of spread their shitty message.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because then ultimately the same thing that happened with the Me Too movement is going to happen with this woke broke movement, in that when you cry wolf, people stop listening. And so when a game like South of Midnight comes out, original IP, good story. Again, it's not great. It's a newer studio, so they definitely have some stuff they got to work on. They could polish the writing. They could go a little less cheesy in certain areas.
Sure.
But overall, very enjoyable experience. Incredibly unique art style. We never see stop motion games. And for you to fucking give it a 1 or a 0 because, and for your reason, you say, oh, another woke, you know, female-centric RPG. Like, what are we doing here?
Right. Well, and I'll give you an example to play onto that. Right. The new Fantastic Four trailer dropped today. I don't know if you had a chance to catch it yet.
No.
So we finally got to see
Silver
Surfer, right? And of course, now, to be fair, I'm going to agree with one thing. The CGI looks fucking awful.
That's sad to hear.
Fucking awful.
That's sad to hear.
Now,
but
again...
but it is a trailer, so you
right,
can't...
so
you
maybe
know.
it'll be better, right? It looks really bad right now.
Okay.
But, you know, again, the comment on top of that is, you know, the fuck, it's not the Silver Surfer we want. It's not Nora and Rad. You know, why did they have to... And my thing is, well, she does exist in the comics, so this is a comic accurate character.
Right, they didn't just pull this out. Like, it's not like they took Ghost and made who was a dude and just made him a chick.
And again, it's a different universe. We don't know what the end result is going to be yet, right? We don't know that this Silver Surfer doesn't die, and when they get to the main timeline, it is Nora and Rad and the Silver Surfer we want. Like, we don't know enough about what's going on with the story yet, but again, it's not replacing the Silver Surfer that we want. It's not saying I'm better than the Silver Surfer that we want, or at least not right now. We don't know yet. But what, we can't say it yet.
But you can't jump on it just because of a trailer.
Right, because we don't know anything about, you know, the story and what, you know, again, we know that, you know, obviously she's the Herald of Galactus. We've seen Galactus, which, by the way, looks awesome.
Yeah. Well, from what I've seen so far, he looks awesome.
Now, again, there are other problematic elements that may or may not
and they may surface in the movie.
Right, but the thing is, we're now condemning the female Silver Surfer without having any reason to do it other than...
There's no context except that she's female.
Right. And so, okay, we want the male version. Sure, we want the male version, but no one said we're not getting the male version. Like, it's not like Kevin Feige said, go fuck yourselves. You're not getting Nora and Rad. This is the Silver Surfer.
Right.
That one is not gonna... Like, we didn't hear any of that. We didn't get any of that.
No.
So, but yet we're condemning... Again, condemn the CGI because it warrants it.
Sure, if you want to be mad about the CGI, no problem.
Right.
But again... you're crying wolf right now. Just say that, you know, like the people. So I think what's going to happen, and it may take a year, it may take 2 years. You're going to see a split in this woke broke movement.
Sure.
And you're going to, you know, the racist misogynists are going to out themselves because every fucking game, every movie that has a woman as a lead or a minority as a lead is a fucking problem now.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah, and you know, you do that, and you're going to stifle so much creativity. You're gonna have tons of whatever it might be, comic books, movies, TV shows. What you're not gonna want any of that and miss out. Like we don't want, you know, all the great female characters that we've had in the past. You know, the Sarah Connors and the Rileys, and you know, the list goes on, right? Of great female leads that we've had in these movies.
Right.
We're gonna all of a sudden say, well, no, we're just not. We're not gonna look for that next big, you know, tent pole that we could possibly get because we're just going to say automatically that it's woke without having context to it.
So I think as fans that truly care about these properties, right, and are not racist, misogynistic pieces of shit, I think we need to be careful about what we deem as woke, or, like, again, if Feige comes out and says you're never going to get a male Silver Surfer, deal with it. You want to be upset about that? No problem.
Right.
But you can't condemn these things before you even have access to them, before you have context for them. And then, again, with a game like South of Midnight, you have a completely original IP that isn't stepping on toes. It's not about taking down the patriarchy, and you're still crying woke on that. So there's a difference between hating something that is message over story, or DEI and gender swaps for the sake of DEI and gender swapping, and making an original IP with a female minority character. Like, it's okay to have that, and it's okay that it's a good game. That doesn't mean that you're conceding that, the last 10 years of Star Wars hasn't sucked, or the last 5 years of Marvel hasn't sucked.
Right.
Like, you can have a good female-led game and not be okay with the bullshit that we've been spoon-fed over the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the Kool-Aid has been drank and anything with a female is going to be shit on, or if it's the misogynist and the racist are the bad actors that are just trying to co-opt the movement, or if... I mean, I don't know what else it could be. There's no reason to call this game, negative.
Right. Well, like, again, when something like that movie G20 comes out, right? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
This one? That you can criticize that one all day long, because that is exactly what is problematic.
Right.
Every single thing about that movie is exactly what has been, talked about and failed and failed and failed. Like, you have no excuse to make a movie like that anymore in 2025 and think it's not going to be anything but an absolute bomb that's going to be laughed at and ridiculed and said it's one of the worst movies ever. Like, you deserve every piece of that, because you know the landscape at this point, and if you choose to make those decisions, understand the consequences. You deserve everything that you get. But again, that is not what this one this game sounds like. And that's you got to differentiate.
Is that you have a small studio that had Microsoft backing, so it had Microsoft money behind it, right? But they put together a highly polished, complete game, right? And whether it's your cup of tea or not, right? Instead of just shitting on it and being like, "Oh, it doesn't have huge," of course it doesn't have huge numbers. It's a AA game. It's not going to do the numbers of a AAA studio.
Yeah,
but don't call it woke.
Right.
Play the fucking game first of all, and then if you get through the game and you still think it's woke, go see a fucking shrink, because there's something wrong with you.
Because I think I do think that Star Wars Outlaws, had the game not sucked, would have done well.
Right,
you know what I mean? Because
part of the problem is, attention spans are lower.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to sink 90 hours into a fucking open world game, Star Wars or no, especially if it's buggy as hell.
Right.
Or the AI is stupid.
Right.
Like, it has nothing to do with the female element of it.
No, that shouldn't have been that. At the end of the day, if that is your complaint on that game, of which there is many complaints, if that is the only thing you're complaining about, or that was your top complaint, then get fucked. That's not that. You shouldn't be. That is going to become problematic. That's going to be as problematic as the stuff we deem woke right now. That's going to start to become seriously problematic, because then what? Anybody that makes anything is all automatically going to fail, just because now we're not going to give it the opportunity to, live in this world on its own merit and see how it performs and see what it does.
Right.
Like, that's crazy.
There has to be balance, though, right? Like, there's... I want studios, whether they're video game or movie, I want them to take risks.
Sure.
Of course I do. Like, innovation comes from risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I don't want is for a studio to, release something that's woke in the negative sense and then just keep fucking beating that formula into the dirt movie after movie after movie. But I also
looking at you, Disney.
Yeah, but I also don't want we as fans and audiences to be so fucking brainwashed that anything that comes out with a female or a minority is deemed garbage because why? Because everything is, all the DEI bullshit that Disney has done is garbage, so everything is garbage. That's not the case.
No.
And so, I just thought that was really interesting because I was excited when they announced South of Midnight, right? Didn't even enter into my sphere. I was like, okay, cool. Like, whatever. Female protagonist, like, it's a fucking new IP. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. And then for it to get blasted like that, I'm just going, like, we got to fucking take a minute and talk about this because what are we doing?
Yeah, you
like, what at that point? What's the message?
But you need that stuff too, just to not be vanilla pudding. I mean, you can't have everything the same because then that's boring too. So I mean, again, if you're what is the difference? I go back to saying Lara Croft was one of the hottest video games of its time when that came out. Right. So I mean, again, it's not like there isn't precedent for a female lead in video games that everybody enjoyed. Now, obviously, this is a different type of game than that is, but again, you certainly want to have female leads, male leads, black female, black male, Asian male, all of it. Like,
but the other half,
half
of that is like, I'm getting, I've been to Louisiana a couple times, like, and I wouldn't say I'm a pro, an expert at all by any stretch. I'm a tourist by every stretch of the imagination, but it was cool to kind of get sort of a window into the folklore and into the sort of vibes and what they have to deal with hurricanes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, yeah, but if you shut games like this down, then those people, one, don't have a voice, and then your world just gets smaller.
Right. And even still, if you're talking about Louisiana folklore as what you're going against, well, you're going to need proper representation to go against that. And either it's going to be a black male or a black female lead. Like, that's who that would be for that particular story. It makes sense. It fits in the context of the story that you're looking to tell. So I don't see what the issue is.
I don't either. I mean, I just thought it was kind of it was alarming. The alarm bells started going off when I saw them, and then Asmongold puts how he does his fucking he hates everything, right? Like anything that's not fucking vanilla pudding, and yeah, he put South of Midnight on his list of like woke DEI failure games, and I'm just sitting there going like, did you even fucking play it, bro?
Yeah, probably not.
Right. You're just doing rage bait content, and it's just like, now I'm sitting here going like, what are you, all fucking mouth breathers?
But
like,
see,
is that where we're at this point?
Yeah, but this is becoming, and it's both sides. We're getting rage bait content for both sides. Either you're going, you have the woke stuff that's getting rage bait, and then you have the anti-woke stuff that is rage bait. You know what I mean? Like, there's very few people that are going to call it down the center, right? And I think we do a pretty good job of trying to be down the middle. I mean, we voice our opinions on the things we don't like, but we also will give credit where credit is due.
Right, and I thought it was important to bring up South of Midnight.
Yeah,
because,
it is.
Again, as if you've listened to our podcast, we're pretty hard on Disney, as many people are.
Yeah.
But I think what separates us from a lot of these people is, I don't think South of Midnight is a woke DEI failure. I think it's a small game that deserves a bigger platform. I hope that studio gets another opportunity to make more games.
Yeah.
I think they got to work on their narrative chops a little bit again.
Sure.
But it's. I'm more forgiving because they took a chance with an original IP with a very interesting. It's not Vikings, it's not samurais. It's finally something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Something that we don't get to see as often.
Yeah.
And
but again, it's exactly what we've been asking for. An original IP that I think doesn't step on the toes of the lore before it.
But I think if nothing else, it proves that you can, if you give the game, leave it in the comments if you've played the game and you think I'm out of my mind. But it proves that you can create original content with a female or a minority or both and have it be good. So here I am dying on the hill of South of Midnight's a great game. I don't think it's woke in a negative sense. I think it's woke in a positive sense. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any message over story, anything like that. So now when I come down hard on Marvel and Disney, just remember this point, because I will die on the hill that South of Midnight's a great game.
Yeah.
And I think you can tell original stories. I think Black Panther 1's a great fucking movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see. I mean, I'm sure it's going to do well. That Sinners movie that's about to come out, right? I know that Haley Steinfeld, I think, is in it, or whatever her name is. But I mean, the majority of the cast is black, and the same director as Black Panther. Now, as you say that, and yeah, it's a vampire movie, so it's not wholly original, but you're going to get, again, a majority black cast in this, and I think it's going to do extremely well. You got Michael B. Jordan starring in it. He's a quality actor. Right. And we want those movies.
Right, and that's kind of the point that I wanted to make, is that it's never been about silencing voices.
No.
That's never what it's been about. What it's been about is you can't use DEI or feminism or whatever to hide behind shitty content.
Right.
That's not fair, and we're gonna call you out on that. Mm-hmm. But to say everything with DEI or feminism in it is shitty is equally as wrong.
Right. Right. Again, you have to have it in the proper context, and the way this sounds is they're not giving their review in the proper context of what this is, which is just an original game that has a female lead. And again, would her being white change anything?
For the worse.
Well, it would be for the worse in the context of the game, but I'm just saying that, does that make it less woke in their opinion? Like,
I don't know.
Like, what is what is it?
Where's the line?
Right, where is that line exactly?
So I think at this point, like, for that game to get flamed as hard as it did, and
Mm-hmm.
again, I played through it, so I'm allowed my opinion. If you haven't played through it, fuck off.
Right.
If you haven't played the game and you're just going by what the talking heads are saying, go eat a pile of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun. It was a refreshing. It wasn't too long. Like it was a good game, and the fact that it was a black female protagonist had nothing to do with my enjoyment.
Yeah, and that's again but it fit the context of the story that's being told, and again, this is what. It just blows my mind that we keep on saying this is what you have to do if you want a black female lead. Then you have to have it fit in the context of the story, which this does, and yet you're saying, well, it's woke. Well,
that's where I take issue, because you can't, I don't know how much weight studios put, obviously none, with fucking the shit that
right,
these big boys have put out, but I just hope it's not going to be this fucking movement of just racist misogynists that have co-opted kind of our beloved IPs and stuff and are using that to push their fucking agenda. You know what I mean? And it just, I started getting alarm bells after reading the reviews on the game, which I only read after I beat it.
Right.
So, you know, I went into it with like a full idea of what the game was as a whole, and just seeing zeros and ones for this game is fucking insane.
Yeah, it's a shame because it potentially a good game from a small studio that could use a big win might not get another opportunity because
even deeper than that, culturally we're fucking ourselves up.
Well, yeah, that too, and that leads me to this, right? The castings for the new Harry Potter TV show on HBO, it came out.
Some of them,
right? Not the kids yet,
right,
but
right. They're still
the
looking
adult
for the kids,
right? And obviously Snape is the talking point of all this.
Let's
but
go through it though. Let's go through it all. So we have John Lithgow, as Dumbledore, which all right, whatever. Sure. I mean, I guess
he can do it.
Yeah, he's old. I mean, you're rolling the dice on that. He's 79.
Right. Exactly.
You hate to see them get into like a Richard Harris situation again.
Right.
But whatever, 79 I guess isn't that old.
Maybe.
I don't fucking know. That seems old. It seems old to me.
It's old.
Like, what do I know?
Yeah.
And then let me bring the casting up because I know that I know the actors, but I don't know all their names. What do you think about them doing a Harry Potter?
I mean, look, I'm gonna be upfront. I've never read a Harry Potter book. I've never seen a Harry Potter movie. Harry Potter's not my thing. I know of Harry Potter, but it's not my thing. That being said, it's another one of these where it's twofold, right? To me, I think it's twofold. One is, the concept is I wanted. It's the movies aren't close enough to the books. We want to make it far closer to the book. Okay, that's
no problem.
And the other thing is, I think because J.K. Rowling's and the kids from Harry Potter had this big falling out, I think she wants to replace them. I do. I think that part of this is to wipe the memory of them and get someone new in as who's recognized as Harry Potter and the others.
Right, and she's got enough juice to make that happen.
Right, so I think there's a twofold reason for this taking place. Otherwise, I don't see the need for it at all because, again, people who love Harry Potter love those movies, and that's fine.
It seems excessive to do
right,
it. But
it does. And,
all right, but I'll play the... Right, I'm with you. I'll ride the ride. Like, whatever. You want to remake it, you want to make it more accurate to the books, so you're going to make it a show instead of movies. Fine, whatever. Roll the dice.
Sure.
John Lithgow is Dumbledore. Okay.
Yeah.
Janet McTeer is McGonagall. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Maggie Smith, very iconic in that. So
right. It's going to be tough.
And then, how do you say his name? Is it Paiapa or It's got to be Paiapa, right?
Yeah, something
like that. So it's so complex because I don't fucking care if Snape's black or not.
So here's my thing, right? So and this goes to going to like a Rachel Zegler, right?
Yeah.
Snape is white in the book.
He's described as like a pale nose
numerous times in the book.
Oh no,
right?
we have a description.
Right, and we have a drawing from J.K. Rowling
of what he looks like.
Right. So we're not. This is a race swap. We're not. His skin color is just like with Rachel Zegler and Snow White. The skin color is a piece of the character and is a major piece of the story. So it does exist.
The other half of it is he's a good-looking dude.
Sure.
First of all.
Which is you gotta.
So now you have a good-looking dude playing the character, right? And then it gets even more complicated because one, Harry's father bullies him through the whole.
Well, this is what I want to talk about, right? Because here's the complexity of it that they have to. Here's my problem, right? Because what you're going to say, he's bullied a lot, right? He's made fun of a lot by his appearance.
Right. The only black teacher on the staff.
Right.
every fucking season, Harry's going to be accusing him of doing shitty things.
Right.
Harry's father bullied him as a kid. Like,
right.
what the fuck are you thinking?
Him and his friends hung him from a tree at one point.
Right.
So you cannot, anybody that watches this, anybody that reviews this, you best keep the fucking racism, because you chose to fucking do this. You know what this character is.
Yeah, but the question is, are they brave enough to keep everything in?
Well, that's my point. Either you're going to take it all out and pretend it doesn't exist,
but now you're fundamentally changing the story,
which goes against your whole premise of making this,
right?
Or you're going to keep it all in, and it's like, nope, we made that choice. It's not fucking racism. This isn't about, we're not making a cultural statement here. This is, we chose to hire a black actor from a absolutely white person role.
Right.
And this is not about the color. If anybody makes it about the color of his skin,
that's on you.
Right. That's on you. You decided to do this. You didn't have to do this. You could have. You look on that screen right now of all those characters. He could have been any other character. This is the one character you should not have done this with. This is a DEI.
Well,
checking a box, making a mistake.
Well, hold on now. I think he's a good actor.
Well, that doesn't matter though. I'm just saying. You cannot fundamentally change the surroundings of what happens to this character.
Yeah, but we don't know that they're going to.
I'm not. No,
again,
I'm saying
don't jump the gun.
No.
On that.
I'm just saying
about this.
you can't say anything about the color of his skin.
No, I think
if those things happen, you can't say white supremacy or anything.
So here's the thing. I think that if they. Here's where I would be okay with it, right? Like, I don't love that they went against the actual description of the character, but I can deal with that. I can get over that. But you need to keep all that shit in.
Right, and that's my point. You need to keep it in, and it has to be in the context of what the story is.
Right. If you keep it in and it stays in the context of the story, I mean, again, there might be a couple of people shifting in their seats because, sure, you inadvertently made a statement.
Sure.
Right? But if you keep it in as is, I got no issue. Like, no. Fine, no problem.
No, but if all of a sudden the narrative becomes, white people bullying the black professor, that becomes a problem.
Right, and that shouldn't be... That's the other half of it, right? If you keep it in and people start bitching about that, well, then that's on them.
Right.
That's not on the studio. That's on them. So
if the studio doesn't say, the
studio should say, fuck off. This is our actor.
No, but this is what I'm saying. The studio needs to say it is nothing other than this. This is the story.
Right. We wanted to stay true to the story. It has nothing to do with anything.
This is not a culture. This is not a culture or societal statement that we're making.
Right. We cast him because he was the best guy for the job.
Yep.
Right. And regardless of his skin color, if it makes you uncomfortable, then that's on you.
Right. Now, again, you're going to have to take out any mention of the skin color, obviously, because it won't make any sense.
Right,
but
that won't be.
But that's not going to be. But that's not a make or break thing.
No, I agree. I think it's an odd choice. I think it's an odd choice just because it brings that up. Right.
Well, that's the problem. See, you're inviting that in. Like, again, you could have made him be any of these other characters and there'd be no problem, but you made the choice to make it where it's going to be divisive.
Let me ask you this. Obviously not him, but if they got a black actor to play Dumbledore, any issue there?
No.
Me neither.
No, because there's nothing in the story that would make you be uncomfortable with what potentially could happen.
But I want to take it even a step further, and I hope that Warner Brothers doesn't do that shit where they're like, oh, Snape was always an outcast because he was black. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, don't fucking do that either.
That's exactly. You cannot make this a statement of anything different than he's an ugly fuck who the kids bullied, and was relentlessly teased, and he's not a good dude. He's, he does some heroic things, but he also does some shitty things. That's who he is.
Right.
And if you stay true to that, fine. But if you start making but if you make it, he's the only black professor, so that's and that's why he's being bullied. And or you know what I mean, like
it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, and again, I'm not going to make judgment on it.
Judgment.
It's just
I think the right way to do it is, I have no issue with you casting him. I think it's odd.
Right.
That's not I don't have an issue. I just think it's odd that because you are inviting that in.
Right. You are inviting it. That's the issue.
But I think if you just lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
And make no mention of it, and just like they were bullies, they bullied him. Harry's a fucking dickhead to him. No problem.
Right.
No problem.
Right.
And and then when you get on and you defend you defend against the people that are like, oh, they're bullying him. Well, this is weird. No. He's Snape. This is how it is in the story. If you can't get right with that, then you're the one that's having issue with race, because you clearly see him as a black man and not Snape.
Right. And that's the problem, with this whole woke, anti-woke.
Well, don't be hypocritic. Don't be a hypocrite about it, right? I mean, like, if that's your Snape,
right,
and they're bullying him, it's because they bully him in the story.
Right. And
if you add anything else to that you're a hypocrite.
Exactly. But I just think the studios, though, again, I'm all for having different. Not it doesn't have to all be white, right? Whatever we want all the races, right? But I think you do have to sometimes pick and choose what's not going to be divisive, because we know what the world we live in, and we know what the audience out there is about at this point. And I think sometimes if you bring in certain controversies, I don't think it's a good idea for certain characters. Like, for example, right, going back to Rachel Zegler at Snow White, right?
Yep.
We know that Snow White, she got her name because of the color of her skin, right? Her skin color mattered.
Well, not in the new one.
No.
But in the new one, she got her name because she was born during a snowstorm.
Now, the next one that was supposed to come out, Rapunzel. Any problem with Rachel Zegler being Rapunzel? No.
But
that's the thing, though.
And we talked about this with Snow White. Not a huge problem with her being Snow White either.
No. But what I'm saying is, you could save yourselves a lot of controversy, and you could save yourself a lot of divisiveness if you just kind of read the room a little bit better. I do have my reservations about Snape being black based upon the story that we know exists. Well, and will that be misinterpreted?
Here's the thing. Of course it will be, because everything is.
Sure.
But I think as long as the studio is prepared to be like, this is our Snape, these things happen to him because he's Snape, and no other reason that he's Snape, and if you want to assign any other meaning behind it, then that's on you.
Yeah, and if that's the message the studio relays and they stick with that, I'm all for it.
Me too.
Great.
Me too.
Good on everybody, because it's not a problem unless you take it out of context. And if that happens, it becomes a big problem.
Right. So I we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. And then you got Nick Frost as Hagrid, which I think that's
fine.
That's a safe bet.
But there again, if he was Hagrid, any problem?
No. But I don't have a problem with him being Snape. I just think that, like you said, it does open some weird doors.
Yeah, but it's the only character that
those
would
doors
open that
open
door.
Those doors, yeah.
But why did you do that? That's my thing is, why did you do that? With all the other characters that it wouldn't open any door, you chose the only character it would.
Well, maybe it's that, like I said, if they stick with that statement, I think good call, man. Way to push it. Like, that's how you push the movement forward. But if they turn it into anything else,
right,
then it's just the same old bullshit.
Right. And if it fails for that reason, then again, you brought it upon yourself. You have no one to blame but yourselves.
Yeah. I mean, again, we'll have to see who the kids are going to be.
Right.
You know, I think that, because ultimately that's going to be the make it or break it. Like, the teachers are important, but at the end of the day.
Right. For sure. I mean, that's going to be the key to it all. And again, I hope it's wildly successful. But going back to it, I think that there was an ulterior motive for making it, because I think that people love those original movies. So,
oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, that was just Rowling trying to salt the earth.
Yeah,
from the originals.
I think so. I think that is the most to do.
She strikes me as petty like that.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and if she's got enough fuck you money to be as petty as she wants to be.
At the end of the day, it's her fucking property.
Right.
You know, it's her playground, and we're all just playing in
right.
it. So,
exactly.
You know, whether you agree with her stances or not.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
And you know, people love Harry Potter. I don't think it's a bad thing that they're remaking them. I don't think the movies are so fucking classic that you know, it's not like Lord of the Rings. Like, I don't think you can go back and remake Lord of the Rings.
Nor should anybody try.
No, I don't think you even could in this day and age.
No.
But, you know, we'll see. I mean, like I said, odd choice, not a bad choice, but it depends on the content. It depends on what they do with it. If they stick to their guns and they stick to the story, and anybody that wants to add any subtext to it, fuck you, that's on you.
Right, but that's how you're going to start weeding out, right? That's how you're going to start weeding out, is it woke or are you just a dickhead, right? That's how you're going to start weeding out.
On both sides.
On both sides,
right.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, all right. With that, let's put this one to bed. Jim, as always.
Yeah, my pleasure.
What do you got going on?
Just getting the art out. Just check the socials every single week. Get some new artwork out there, and just making sure that something's out every week for you to enjoy. So stop by the socials, check them out.
All right, guys, that's episode 110 of The Corner. You know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. We're in the Manchester Craft Market at the Mall in New Hampshire in Manchester, New Hampshire. We're going to be at Wicked Comic Con in Boston this Saturday. Although by the time you hear this, it'll be past. But what do you guys think? I mean, have you seen The Monkey? Have you seen Peter Cottontail?
Find it if you haven't.
You have to.
You have to.
That's
before
just
you die.
Right. It's before you die. What are your thoughts on the anti-woke movement? I mean, do you think my statement of maybe it's getting a little too far holds true, or am I out of my mind? Am I just blinded by the DEI wokeness? Have I caught the virus? Maybe. How do you feel about the casting of the Harry Potter teachers? Are you for it? Are you against it? Do you think it's a ploy, or do you think it's just the best actors for the roles? Let us know in the comments. All right, crew. Catch you on the next one.